Violet Sorengale needs to go sing driver's license. Hello, and welcome to Reluctant Reading Vlog, where I read books that I don't particularly want to read, but I am soul-bound to read. I didn't think I was going to read Onyx Storm. I thought I was so out. I swore I would never give Rebecca Yarros my money again. And then on a whim, on Onyx Storm release day, I checked Libby, and my library had some crazy number of Onyx Storm audiobooks, and no one had taken them out. No one had a hold on them. There's a very obvious reason for this. The audiobooks are kind of trash. The narration,
I'm not ignoring my fate.
but I took that as a sign from the universe that I have to see it through. I want to make a reference to that quote in Fourth Wing. What is it? Something like, grab your leathers and jump on your dragon. But I don't remember the exact quote, so I guess giddy up. If you would like to hear my attempt at a short summary of the Empyrean series up to this point, listen right along. If not, you can skip to here. Onyx Storm, for those who aren't familiar, is book 3 in the Empyrean series by author Rebecca Yarros, a romantasy series featuring dragons, a very tall shadow daddy man, and a tiny baby girl protagonist. The first book in the series, Fourth Wing, was an unexpected craze success. It was facilitated by TikTok. The printer ran out of copies. If I'm pitching this series to someone, I say it is horny How to Train Your Dragon Hunger Games. If I was going to give you an overall theme of these books so far, I would say the theme is history. Who records history? Who gets to tell your story? That was not an intentional Hamilton reference. I'm Canadian. This story starts on Conscription Day, a coming-of-age ritual. You pick what quadrant you're going to go into. Think about Divergent. Are you going to be Abnegation? Are you going to be Dauntless? Okay. Violet Sorengale is very small. She's a sickly girl. She has gray at the ends of her hair. I feel a little too represented, apart from the gray hair. Violet is very smart. Violet likes books. Violet has spent her whole life saying, I'm joining the scribe quadrant. Violet's father was a scribe, but her mother is the general of the Dragon Riders. The cool girls are the Dragon Riders. Violet has a sister named Mira, who is a dragon rider already. She also has a brother who is possibly dead. On Conscription Day, Violet going to go be a scribe until her mother says, no, Violet, you must be a dragon rider. Violet runs into her childhood friend, Dane Atos, who she also has a little bit of a crush on. Dane says, Violet, don't worry, baby girl, I'm going to get you out of this. The first thing that you have to do if you want to be a dragon rider is you have to cross the parapet, which is a long, thin area of wall, and they have to tiptoe across it and not die. As she is going to the parapet, Violet meets Rhiannon. They will become besties. The parapet's very damp. I don't know why I'm giving you such a detailed summary of the first book. Don't expect this for anything at all. This is just the part of the book that I really remember. Someone they met who was like, damn, when I'm out of here, I'm gonna marry my girlfriend. Immediately falls to his death. You just have to get used to that because that is what these books do. I am the first one to get really excited when authors are willing to unalive people. I like stakes, but it happens so frequently in Fourth Wing that me and my inability to remember people mostly confused because so many side characters are dying, and usually you can tell when they're going to die. Either they've had a sort of touching moment or they are a bitch. As Violet is approaching the parapet, she sees this man. Very tall. He's very muscular. Dark hair, jawline that could cut your heart out, and he looks pissed. Xaden Riorson. Xaden Riorson has a tattoo. Many years ago, in this world that is possibly called Eurasia, there was a rebellion. That rebellion failed, and instead of, doing political reform, the elite decided to execute all of the rebels and then conscript their children, and they're all branded with a tattoo. Dane tells Violet, watch out. Xaden is a third year. Xaden's going to try and kill you because your mom was the one who sentenced his dad to death. Okay, watch your step. Violet sees Xaden and says, I want to climb that man like a jungle gym. Girl has not a thought in her head about danger. She's thinking about another word that starts with D. Violet and Rhiannon make it across the parapet. They've completed the first stage of the trials that one needs to complete to become a dragon rider. There are many. They have to do this, what's that game show where people run into foam walls and fall off giant balls? They have to do that a lot, and it's hard for Violet. Violet's joints often dislocate. Dane keeps telling Violet, I'm gonna get you out of here. But, Violet kind of likes being a dragon rider in training. She's making friends, proving to herself that she can do all of these hardcore physical things. Forgot to mention, there's also this man, Jack Barlow, and he just is going on about how he's going to kill her. Really gets it in his head that because Violet is small, she does not deserve to be a dragon rider. Jack Barlow is incredibly one-note villain. I am bored when characters are just written to be disliked. Make it interesting at least. So in Beskayeth, which is the dragon training war college, they have to go to How to Train Your Dragon school, history class, fighting class. This is where the Hunger Games thing comes in. They are allowed to kill each other because the dragons choose the riders. If you are not strong enough, the dragon is going to eat you. Threshing, when all the students go out into the forest and the dragons pick them or eat them. There are different kinds of dragons. This is the How to Train Your Dragon part. Feather tails, club tails. They mostly have to do with tails. There's sort of like a ranking of dragon power within the 6 species of dragons. Xaden has one of the most powerful, most sexy lady dragons. The Gale. All the dragons can mind speak. And once you're bonded to a dragon, you can speak to your dragon with your mind. During threshing, Violet is trying to protect a feather-tailed dragon. You initially think that they're a different species of dragon that is really small and really helpless. You later find out that they're just baby dragons. Jack wants to kill the feather-tail for reasons Xaden sees. No one is allowed to interfere at threshing. But his dragon Sigale also saw. So Sigale tells another dragon. She tells Terran. Big, giant, strong dragon shows up. Violet bonds with Terran, short for Tirnanak, and she also bonds the little dragon Andarnanon, who we call Andarna. Violet is the first person in history to bond to dragons. When you bond a dragon, you get a little tattoo and a magic power. Also, your life is tied to that dragon. If the dragon dies, their rider dies. This sounds very familiar, Rebecca Yaros. The rider dies, only sometimes the dragon dies. They get put in different quadrants of fighting. Violet is put in 4th wing with her besties. I think Xaden is in charge of 4th wing. There are many attempts on Violet's life. Yada, 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 training. Violet's main battle strategy when she's fighting, because she is weaker than her opponents, is she poisons them. Xaden has noticed, and he I think she has to fight Xaden at some point, and because he wants her to actually learn how to fight people and not just poison them. During one of the nights, Violet feels really weird, stumbles outside, sees Xaden smoking weed. The reason that Xaden is smoking weed is because Violet and Xaden's dragons are having dragon sex because they are mates. That's it. We've hit the big M word. And because Violet and Xaden are both mind melded with their dragons who are having sex, it makes Xaden and Violet want to have sex, which they already wanted, and now it's worse. So they start making out outside under a little bit of lightning. It's very intense. They stop kissing before it can go any further. Oh, sorry. So even though the riders have powers, they don't manifest instantly. Violet's signet has not manifested. It's taken a long time. And if you don't manifest for a certain amount of time, you die. Think about it like this. Any time in 4th wing that there is something that you must do, if you don't do it within a certain amount of time, you die. Now, because Violet and Xaden's dragons are mates, they cannot be separated for very long. So every time that they have to send Xaden somewhere, Violet has to go with him, because you also cannot be separated from your dragon for very long or you will die. If Violet dies, Tiernan dies. If your dragon mate dies, then you die. So Sigale would die, and then Xaden would die. So there is now a domino effect. 2 most powerful dragons in the Empyrean will die if tiny fragile baby girl dies, or Shadow Daddy. They're doing a practice fight and Violet discovers her signet, which is the ability to wield lightning. She uses that lightning to kill Jack. Blah, blah. This is also what was happening when Violet and Xaden were making out. Violet just didn't realize that she was the one making the lightning. Violet and Xaden sleep together. I don't remember exactly how it happens. I do, however, remember that they break an armoire and possibly set fire to his curtains. Because when they're getting freaky, they both use their powers, sort of willy-nilly. I think they break a window, too. So Xaden's shadows go crazy. Violet summons a lightning storm.
I love being electrocuted.
And of course, it's life-changing. This isn't enemies to lovers. This is enemies to horny to lovers. Blink of an eye, baby. Violet is slowly learning that the history books that she has loved and read her whole life are all lying to her. And there's this secret history. There are these people that they call Venin that are using magic by siphoning directly from the earth, which kills your soul. And these people also also ride wyverns. Xaden is helping another rebellion, the Griffin Riders. Violet realizes that every time Dane and Violet did kiss. I don't remember how that happened either. Every time Dane has been touching her face and saying, girl, we got to get you out of here, he has been reading her mind, because Dane has mind reading powers and he's been reporting on her. He saw this moment when Xaden told her he was going to an outpost with the rebels. And then at that outpost, they get attacked by Venin and wyverns because Dane's dad... I don't know if Dane's dad sent the wyverns and the Venin or if he just knew they were going to be there. But he tried to get them killed is the main point. And many of them die. Violet gets poisoned. Violet wakes up and she is met by her brother, Brennan, who, shocker, is not dead. Brennan is fine and he's part of the revolution. Do I remember what the revolution is? No. Tie me to a stake and set it on fire, and I could not tell you what happens in Iron Flame.
You have no idea how badly I want to peel those pants off your amazing ass and fuck you until you're hoarse from screaming my name. So limp from orgasms that you can't fathom leaving my bed ever again. And every tree around here goes up in flames from lightning strikes.
I'm not enjoying this. Thoroughly enjoying myself. She's been the first to book poisoning everybody. She keeps eating and drinking things people give her to poison her. Bitch just got drugged for the third time. I'm having a great time. I hate everyone in this book except the dragons. Whose jacket is that? Somehow magically healed. For what?
I had him first. Not at all, since I have him now. I swallowed a sour gel. I think it does bother you. Seeing me here, where I belong, sleeping right down the hall. I bet it keeps you awake at night, knowing I'm a better match for him in every... Are you now just realizing you're nothing special? That you're just a convenient placeholder he can... You went with Black. Cat stares from the doorway. I'm a rider. Xaden always laments how monotone everything is at Basgaev.
I hate it.
A lot of the book is trying to make an alliance between the Dragon Riders and the Griffin Riders so that they can fight the Venin together instead of fighting each other. There's a lot of Xaden and Violet fighting, and then a lot of Xaden and Violet doing another thing that starts with F.
Freestyle dance.
In the second book, Andarna's a teenager, and they're trying to figure out what kind of dragon she is. By the end of the book, it is established that she is some strange 7th species of dragon. Basgaev has wards around it that are supposed to protect it from Venin. Jack, who's been resurrected, takes the wards down. Now they can be attacked by the Venin, and they are attacked by the Venin. Violet's mom dies, putting new wards back up. So the book ends with Violet, going up to Xaden and being like, we survived. And Xaden's eyes are red, a la the Venin, because he siphoned from the earth. Xaden will do anything for Violet. Violet will usually do anything for Xaden to the detriment of everybody else. But most of that book was annoying because it was Xaden saying things like, oh, Violet, I'll tell you everything. I'm not going to lie to you like I lied to you in the first book when I said I wasn't in a rebellion, and the whole time I was in a rebellion. And Violet will ask him something and then he does not answer. Or he'll say, you didn't ask about that, so I didn't tell you. It drove me bananas.
What? How dare you ask me that?
all of the rebellion children have a second signet. We learn that Xaden's second power is he can read people's intentions. So, have I mentioned that Violet and Xaden can mind speak to each other? Because they can mind speak to each other. They think it's because their dragons are mates. But a lot of times they're getting freaky, and Xaden will answer Violet's thoughts, and Violet will be like, that's weird, I must have said it out loud. Girl was not saying it out loud. Xaden was just reading her mind, reading her intentions, whatever. Insufferable. I don't really like anybody in these books. I think I've done a pretty good job of summarizing. I mean, for me, by my standards. I think I'm on the 3rd chapter. Xaden has just arrived. Violet is still his girl. He is still her man. I'm confused by that a little bit considering how much they were fighting in the last book. I'm already at 1.5 speed. Apologies to the narrator. She's done all the Fourth Wing books. She sounds ill. As someone with a nasally voice, I get it, but I can't listen to her at regular speed. This book just launched into conflict. Literally, there's venom in the school castle. I didn't know that one guy got his leg taken off. I still wish that we spent more time with the characters and less time on the action, but that is very biased opinion, and not everybody likes those kind of books. I'm bored right now. See how beautiful the world is? Aren't you so glad we live in a beautiful world? I don't know why Jack is still alive. I don't know why Xaden's still alive. Seriously, girl, what does Xaden do for you? I mean, I know what he does for you. If this book turned into Sapphic Enemies to Lovers, Cat and Violet, it would become my top book of all time. I'm not particularly attached to the reading vlog format. I want to finish my book and then never have to read a Fourth Wing book again. This book is paced so oddly. Something really dramatic will happen, and then the next scene or the next chapter, there's been a time jump. Temporally, I didn't know where we were anymore. Apparently it's been 6 weeks, the point I'm at. Harry Styles is going to be a problem, isn't he? Okay, if they're in the land without magic, they can't speak to their dragons. Of course, Violet, our delicate little baby girl, can still speak to both her dragons, but she can't speak to Xaden anymore with the mind speak. Because of the weird pacing, this book feels more so than the first, a little bit comparably to the second. It feels very episodic. Every chapter is just sort of an event that happens rather than something that contributes to the overall story. That's how I'm feeling about it. Like, what have they done? Violet's overall goal is cure Xaden of the venom thing. Part of that goal is she thinks that finding the 7th species of dragon is maybe going to help with this somehow. She has this book from her father, sort of implies something like that. They're following hints from it. That's the overall goal. There's an evil venom woman. That woman wants to recruit Violet. One of the more confusing parts that I just experienced, they were going on a mission to find an artifact, and somehow that translated to they went to this town in an area that had been drained. During that escapade, because Violet was not allowed to choose her team members for this trip, one of them set fire to the building, which killed some general man and also burnt the whole village to the ground, and then got murdered by a wyvern. And every chapter feels like that. It feels like there's a bunch of shit happening, a bunch of people dying, and I don't particularly care about them. That girl had been purposefully really annoying. Dane's father is also one of those characters that you're supposed to not like. He just keeps yelling at them. I wonder if I can flip Harry Styles. I think that was a good solution. Currently, we're in this place following a clue that Violet's father left her in his book. Xaden is having a great time. This is the happiest anyone has ever seen Xaden
He's thriving. He's no longer scared of draining Violet by accident. He's no longer afraid of the temptation to draw from the earth. Currently, no one can do magic, though. The highlights so far for me, I liked when they come back from that mission. She was put in danger, and Xaden is all upset, and he sends everyone out of the room. And Violet says, what are you gonna do? You're gonna yell at me? And then he starts making out with her. Yeah. I enjoyed when the friends made fun of how much Xaden and Violet fight. So far, they have not been doing that. They've almost exclusively just been kissing really aggressively and then doing the no, we can't. So the captain, Atos, the guy who's in charge, the principal, Dane's daddy, really wants to keep Violet and Xaden apart. Xaden becomes a professor at the school, so then it's in their codex that him and Violet can't be in a relationship. Hilarious. This is one of my favorite forced conflict reasons in a romantasy book why the two main characters cannot bang all the time. They're still doing their dirty talk in their brains thing. I really like that they introduced an ex of Violet's after the whole cat thing in the second book. We know how I felt about the cat fighting. Halden, who is a prince, and Xaden throws him against a wall. I am not a person who particularly enjoys the jealous, big, strong man trope.
Are you sure about that?
I just love messy bitches. I like seeing Xaden be a little bitch. I'm very tempted to acquire a paper copy, but I refuse to buy it, and there are no paper copies at my library. I'm not going to be reading Onyx Storm for inspired metaphors or touching similes, but there was one I enjoyed. Xaden was telling Violet how much he loved her, where he said something like, he wishes he wore the armor on her body and the sheets on her bed. John, I cooked. The other thing, Violet has this nightmare where her and Kat are trapped in a burning building and she's trying to save a portrait. And why was that dream giving, hey ladies? Hey ladies, what's happening there? Neither of them would leave the other. I'm not gonna get it. There's no way. That's not this series. Today I want to get to the halfway point of this book.
Hello, I'm on chapter 44. I have not done a check-in today, mostly because this is an audiobook and what do you want to see me do? They're going to all of the isles looking for the dragons. So the first one they went to, I made a comment about how it was sort of the east. I'm doing air quotes right now.
We have to have the Edward Said, the east, where it's warm and there's sand. There's merchants. People take stuff for gold. Serrated knives. Who's not bored by lazy trope writing?
Are we surprised that Violet went to talk to the guy who was in charge? Are we surprised that he had kidnapped Holden? They sit down at this table and there are silver platters that are covered. And of course I'm like, oh, there's gonna be heads under there. There were heads under there. And the guy calls in his children for dessert, 4 white panthers. And at this point I am rolling my eyes so hard that I'm surprised I still have eyes. That wasn't very creative, but I'm not feeling particularly creative here. This is not the time or place to get into the complexities of drawing on certain cultures and real world regions for inspiration in a fantasy world and the ethics of that. I haven't done enough research, but I have done enough reading to know when there's a little something. And the audiobook narrator was doing a very interesting accent for that whole time. Just before Holden got kidnapped, Xaden and Violet banged for the first time in this book. Immediately afterwards, their whole squad is outside. Violet's sister's out there. The second time that one of Violet's siblings has been outside the door while Violet is getting railed. And she still walks around. Xaden and Violet have to go get Holden like he's their naughty child that messed up at school. While they are being threatened by panthers, Xaden kills everyone using the venom powers. The squad that is looking for the 7th species of dragon, which is called Illithids. No, Erithids? The word is almost iridescent, but it's not. And it's because their scales can change color. They left to go to all these isles against the instruction of Captain Atos. We have to succeed because when we go back, we're going to get court-martialed if we fail our mission to 1, get allies, 2, find the dragons. Of course, this mission for Violet is really about cure Xaden. The next isle that they go to. The way that I'm describing this sounds choppy, and that is because it is choppy. This is how the book reads. From one isle to another, no time to unpack what happened. When the characters do have a chance to talk about things, usually Violet is just looking at Xaden, thinking about how beautiful he is, or Riddick is making a sarcastic, funny comment. In the next isle, accent for these people was also a choice. I want to say it was Slavic, but I think all accents are Slavic. Those people said, we need your strongest and your weakest, and you're going to fight to the death. It is exactly what's happened in every other book. Violet has been underestimated. Violet is the only one that wins her battle. Dane is unconscious. Xaden is on the ground. Violet is screaming. There is lightning raining down around them. Violet, was that you? Are you okay? How did you do that? And Violet says, no, you idiots. We're in the land without magic. Obviously, that wasn't me. That was a crazy coincidence. Everyone in this book is so fun. Since Violet won the match, she gets to talk to the queen. Turns out the queen is the woman that Violet was fighting. The deal the queen offers, we'll fight with you, sure, if you give us baby dragon eggs. They do not agree to this deal. On to the next isle. Wait. Rewind. The place with the people who wanted the dragons, who were fighting to the death. Violet saw a bunch of people with gray hair. That queen made some cryptic ass comments about Violet being dedicated to the god of war as a child, and that's why she has gray hair. Stash that away for later because it will probably be important. They know all of this information about all the different isles because of Violet's dad's journals, which are sort of weird anthropologist notes about the different societies. Again, I don't want to comment on it. Weird vibes. Next isle. Everybody loves wisdom. Everybody's so wise. Squad rolls up. A woman comes up to greet them. Oh my god, Xaden. Oh my god, Mom. Xaden's mommy's home. Xaden, acting like a petulant, grumpy teenager, locks himself in his room and doesn't want to talk to anybody. Left me when I was 10. She baked me chocolate cake on my birthday and then left. Mom says, please just have dinner with us. We can discuss the terms of this deal you want to strike for allies, and also I can see my son. Xaden has 2 half-brothers, so she replaced Xaden in Xaden's brain. The family didn't want them to know about the brothers. They sent them to Nana and Papa. Can you tell I've never called anyone Nana and Papa in my life? Nana and Papa. Why can't I say that like a normal person? That's worse. At dinner, they're asking them all these questions to test their intelligence. And also, these people really want Xaden and Kat to get married. We're going to drop the papers. The wedding will be tomorrow. Xaden and Kat, you're getting married. Xaden says, okay, as long as you put her name on there as Violet Sorengale. Violet is rolling her eyes almost harder than I am. The squad sort of joins in on this bit, saying that Xaden and Violet can hyphenate. There's a part earlier in the book where Xaden is being possessive, and he says, it's my name she'll be wearing on her flight jacket. And then Rebecca jumps in with this one, giving me mixed messages about how the surname works in this society. Also, hyphenating is an option in this world. Whenever something that is real world modern with real world modern histories is brought up in a fantasy book, I just glob onto it like a fucking barnacle. In the first book, it was Violet said something about a playground. What do you mean you have playgrounds? What do you mean you have slides? Oh, you're slower than a sloth. You have sloths? How many species of sloth do you have? And that's just when you have to say, Kalia, stop it. This is fun romantasy time. Let them have sloths and playgrounds and hyphens. And it's like, what are their grammatical rules? Do they have the same grammatical rules that we have? Do they have all the same punctuation characters? Do they have the same alphabet if they have the same punctuation? And then we've gone too far. Back to the dinner. Please. At the end of the dinner, a chocolate cake is brought out. Xaden says, "Wow, Mom, you remembered how much I love chocolate cake?" But Violet, as we know, is a smart girl. The mom was gathering enough chocolate for this cake for weeks. That's weird considering that she acted shocked this morning when we rolled up. None of the royal people are eating their cake. Everyone in this book is just really dumb. "Don't eat the cake," Violet says. Xaden's best friend, who is not his cousin and is possibly named Bodhi but might be named this, has already ingested the cake, unconscious, not breathing. The king is, "Ha ha ha, you guys are so stupid, you ate the cake. We're not gonna ally with you because you're so stupid." But then all of the royals start getting really bad stomach pain. Violet says, "Ha ha, you better give me the antidote for Bodhi, or I'm not going to give you the antidote for the poison that you ingested, which was the tea. Everyone is poisoning everyone." The man says, "I won. You're not smarter than me. I'll just fucking die." Riddick gets stabbed, and you think Riddick is going to die, and Riddick is fine. Riddick is saving this book for me. I like his little snarky banter. They get the antidote for Bodhi. Violet forces the king into a bargain with her. She gives him the antidote to the poison she gave them. Then the squad leaves. And we have not talked about that since then. I have to be blind in order to comprehend this. I don't know why there wouldn't be a conversation between Violet and Xaden at this point. Going to the next aisle, where the questionable accents are back. I think they're Irish, which when I tell you what this aisle, each aisle has sort of a theme. And when I tell you what their dealio is, you're going to also raise your eyebrows in a question of the Irish narration. This aisle's dealio is luck. They fly in, they're sort of in I'm envisioning a coliseum or like the football stadium from Bottoms. Crowds are in the stands full, cheering, excited. Lady comes up to them, "Pick a card, any card." We have not stopped. This is immediately after the whole cake shit. Each person on the squad takes a card and they get a gift. Riddick gets a smooch. I wish I could remember Kat's cousin's name. Gets a kitten. Mira gets a bottle of wine. Kat's boyfriend gets death. As soon as they get there, you know that one of them is going to die, that the gift of one of the things is going to be death. It could only be Kat's boyfriend because everyone else on that team is too important and is too tied up in another storyline. He was so disposable. Also, they just told us that he was Kat's boyfriend. Of course he was going to die. It was so boring. Anyway, he dies. On to the next aisle. We're nearing the end of the aisles. They really need to find those Irids. They're called Irids. Violet sits down with sleeping Andarna. Damn it, we didn't find the Irids. We're going to be in so much trouble. And then the Irids just find them. "Rebecca, why don't your characters do anything useful?" The Irids are all about peace, and they don't particularly like all this war. And then somebody says, my least favorite frickin' trope in literature. It is the reluctant person that makes the best leader. The person who doesn't want to rule is the best ruler. What kind of Game of Thrones final season bullshit is this? In 2025? Rebecca, for God's sake. The Irids say, "We're not going to help you. You guys are a disgrace. Humanity is a stain on this earth and you deserve to die." There is no cure for venonism because you're killing a piece of your soul. You can't get that back. That's just death. Xaden rolls up and immediately those dragons know he's Venom and say, "Circle of bad vibes, we're out." Riddick now knows that Xaden is Venom or turning Venom. "My boy, you've never done anything wrong in your life. You are completely correct about all of this." Xaden and Riddick come to an understanding because Xaden knows that as soon as anyone figures out he's Venom, they're going to try and kill Violet because, again, domino effect. If they kill Violet, they kill Taryn, they kill Sigale, they kill Xaden. Violet's easier to kill. At this point, Violet is not easier to kill, dude. You are. We just proved you wrong a couple chapters ago. They go back to Basgiath, and they are not arrested. They gotta go back to history class. And that is where I left off. Yeah. I've only made it another chapter. I had to take a break and listen to Driver's License. And I just need to say something. Violet is 20 years old. Sweetie, your brain's not even done cooking. Let me get Xaden. How old are you? Age. Xaden Riorson. You and I are the same age. This makes him make so much more sense, but also makes me so much madder at him.
Xaden!
Anyway, all I wanted to say, Violet and Xaden take their relationship incredibly seriously, as all of these young couples do in romantasy books. They haven't been together that long. Violet, you're 20! All of them should be in the club, and they should not be this serious about their relationship that they're selling off pieces of their damn soul. I think we need to take a step back from the situation and say, is it that serious? I love, but I think that Violet Sorrengail needs to go sing driver's license a couple times, and Xaden needs to, I don't know, get a job? He's a professor. Fuck. Now I'm just thinking about Xaden and I in the same room, and I don't think I'm Xaden's demographic. I don't think that man would know what to do, and I don't think I'd know what to do with him.
That was not aesthetic. He nods. I'm not ignoring my fate. Then you can keep control with me? I shamelessly finished the sentence the way I wanted to end. If he's ready, I'm happily willing to feast. You are the temple where I worship. I live for the clench of your thighs, your breathy little cries, Xaden, I blatantly beg. He unsheathes one at his thigh and sets it on the bookcase to my right, then uses lesser magic to float his other one to my nightstand. An excerpt from Major Rorley's. His tongue sweeps past my lips with arrogant ownership, and I moan. You're he growls. To the crackling heat gathering. You are every fantasy I'll ever have. His lips brushed, and the chair creaks as he sets his left behind me. Give me your mouth. I look back over my shoulder and he curls over me. Lightning strikes again and again. Just a desk. It's fine, he swears, and I'm absolutely... He grits his teeth and reaches to grab hold of the edge of the dresser. That explains the shift in positions. Violet, love, I can't. You can. Once, twice, and on the third, shadow fills the room, plunging us into darkness and sending metal clanging to the ground. He drops his head to my shoulder and...
Hello. On this very dreary day, I have reached the end of Onyx Storm. You either get good lighting or good audio, and the sun always sets. The sun set again. I can do this. Characters that I need to tell you about now in order for you to understand the ending of this book. Bodhi is Xaden's cousin, first in line to be Duke of Tirandor if Xaden dies. Has the power to magnify other people's signets. He also has a second power. We don't know what that power is. Then there's Garrick, Xaden's best friend. He can wield air and also teleport. It's the one who sent her the stupid Auric, who is not Garrick, and whose real name is Cam, and who is also a prince, brother of Holden. We don't know what his signet is until the end of the book. There's Imogen. Imogen's signet is memory erasure. I don't think we know her second one. Imogen has pink hair. I mentioned Rhiannon before, Violet's best friend. Rhiannon can teleport objects. All of these people are dragon riders. Sawyer is the man who got his leg taken off in the last book. Sawyer has a little flirtation going with Jacinia, who is Violet's scribe friend. The Empyrean books are told as though they are a recorded history that Jacinia is writing down, because it's the scribe's jobs to record history. People like to joke, if Jacinia is writing this down, why is she writing about the 30-minute smut scenes? I see you. Each chapter begins with a quote from some sort of text. There was a really odd quote. I'm just going to pop it in here.
Most cadets believe their ability to recite historical fact will usher them onto the adept path, but it is actually the ability to observe and recount it that separates the librarians from the scribes.
Rebecca, librarians in this world work differently than librarians in our world, I see. Something else that I don't think I've mentioned, this world has deities and predetermined knowable paths that one can take to certain outcomes. So there are characters that can see the outcome of a battle. Where do I even start? Oh my god. We spend a little bit of time at Besgaiath practicing with the Fourth Wing Squad, running around, learning things, doing things, and then we are at Riorson House. They are there practicing their runes. You essentially manipulate magic into some kind of rune, and then you can use it. It's like a cantrip. Academic weapon Violet struggles with runes because Taryn is so powerful that she has a hard time using them.
They're rough when you break the edges. Pull hard when tying the knots. I can do that. I nod, then reach into my archives and yank a strand of Taryn's power loose. I'm sure you can, considering who you're sleeping with.
After Xaden and Violet had sex, she wakes from this nightmare. Her and Xaden realize that they had the same nightmare. Isn't that weird? Violet's second signet, which she gets from Andarna, is the ability to dream walk. She is sort of an intrinsic like Xaden and Dane, except that they think she can't read people's minds. She can just walk straight in while they're sleeping. This is the Hey Ladies explanation from the start of the book.
Hey ladies, what's happening there?
Violet was not having a dream about Kat. She was in Kat's friend's brain. They have not updated the fan wiki. Get on it, guys. Kat is so hot. Now I'm just thinking about Xaden and I in the same room. I don't think that man would know what to do, and I don't think I'd know what to do with him. Kat is so hot. She was in Marin's dream. Marin is Kat's best friend. The Venin show up. Violet sort of goes off script and puts some people in danger. She's at this temple of Dune, the goddess of strength and war. At the temple, they run into Theophany, who is the evil Venin woman that's after Andarna and Violet. They're getting their asses beat in this fight. Suddenly, Deus Ex Machina, Irid comes in. Leothan. He fired the ward stone. They needed all 7th species of dragon to get the wards to work properly. Do you think that the characters did something to convince the Irids that humanity is worth saving? No. Leothan just thought about it and changed his mind. The Venin leave. Say, okay, we're no longer in a fight. There's no way to describe this that doesn't sound incredibly disjointed. And that's just because that's how it is. They're having sex, and then they're in a battle, and then they're being saved by a dragon, and then they're fine. And then, okay. Leothan tells Andarna, you have to come with me. I'm not going to help. We just want you to come home. Andarna says, I can't do that. I can't leave Violet. We're bonded. He says, just break the bond. How many times have we established that the dragons and the riders have a permanent bond that cannot be broken other than by death? That's all bullshit for the Irids. They can control bonds. It was not Violet being tiny baby girl super magical that warranted 2 dragons. It was Andarna that made the second bond. So she can just break it. And break it she does. Snip, bye-bye. Flies off with the other Irid. Violet is cast into a deep depression. Violet feels adrift in an ocean of sadness. Violet goes catatonic for 3 days till Mira jumps on the bed and says, Violet, get out of bed. And Violet gets out of bed. I don't really want to comment. Violet, who has just leaped out of bed after her 3-day depressive episode, gets in the bathtub. Xaden washes her feet. In the bedroom, Brennan and Mira start fighting. Mira's theory is that their parents took Violet to a temple of Dune and dedicated her to the goddess, possibly because of Violet's chronic illness, possibly because one of Violet's destiny fate paths seemed to be that she was going to turn Venom. Something about the prophecy, the heart that beats for her is going to turn. Her siblings are shocked and surprised that she overheard all of this. It's an adjoining bathroom. Smart lady that she is. Violet figures out Daddy Sorngale went rogue. This is the weird shit that the queen was saying to Violet before they fought. Oh my god. Violet's dedication was never completed because of that prophecy. She still has multiple paths open. We can't dedicate her fully. Xaden stops them. I'm the heart that beats for Violet. I've already turned Venom. Mira tries to kill Xaden. Snaps for Mira. I hope you marry Kat's cousin and raise broccoli together. Kat's cousin's named Drake, by the way. In my notes for this, I wrote, where the fuck is broccoli? The kitten that Drake got from the Irish people. Why does nothing that happens in this book matter? I wanted Mira and Drake to drink the bottle of wine and play with Broccoli the kitten. Not every detail obviously has to pay off. Violet tells Mira he's not like other Venom. They go back to rune classes. I don't know where anyone is or how much time has passed. Xaden and Violet are woken up from another nightmare in which Venom Sorcerer Man was directly talking to both Violet and Xaden. Violet says, this is a really vivid dream. Lucid dreaming. He keeps saying, you're going to come to us. You're going to come rescue her. Knock, knock, knock on the door. Hi, it's Bodhi. Sorry to wake you up, but we are getting attacked. Oh no, Violet, they have someone that you love. How weird, considering that man in your dream just said that. Evil Venom woman has Mira. They got a letter. Meet us or she dies and bring his brother. That appears to mean bring Bodhi. Theophany actually wants them to bring Jack. Okay. They show up at this place for the plan. They talk some shit, and then Theophany says, we don't keep our word anyway, so we're still gonna go attack that village, and then she slits Mira's throat. They did also bring Jack. They locked him in a closet, brought the closet. Jack tumbles out of the closet. Theophany shoots a dagger at Jack. And then she kills Mira. It's a neck wound. She's bleeding out. Another character that I have not mentioned, Sloane, the little sister of Liam. Liam, who is one of the rebellion kids, who is really good friends with Violet, dies in the first book. Sloane has big beef with Dane. There's gonna be something happening there. Sloane's signet is that she can channel power from other people. So if you're running out of juice, she can take some power from someone else and give it to you and fill you up. Dane offers up his power. Sloane IV transfers Dane's power to Brennan. Brennan heals Mira. Mira is fine. So is Tiny. In order for Tiny to be fine, Taryn has to fly Tiny away. Violet is on the field with Bodhi, unprotected, no dragon. Theophany pops back over, hiding behind a pillar. They start to fight. Bodhi says, I'm not leaving you, Violet. Violet says, yes, you are, Bodhi. And then Bodhi's dragon scoops him up, flies him away. Why the heck was Bodhi there that whole time? There are a lot of comments throughout this series about how Violet thinks Bodhi's hot. I have to emphasize that Bodhi is Xaden's cousin. And then Xaden will say something like, it would be a shame if I had to kill my last living relative, Violet. Don't say Bodhi's hot. Why does Violet keep saying that Bodhi's hot? And Bodhi keeps saying weird things to Violet. What is this? Okay. The reason Xaden's not around is because everyone has made it very clear. Violet and Xaden, there are priorities other than you two and your love for each other. So they've sent Xaden off somewhere else. This is when I became much more conscious of what was happening in the book, because we leap into multi-POV. If the Empyrean series was fully told in multi-POV, this would solve so many problems. Okay, maybe not, but it would definitely fix a lot of the pacing issues. More engaging. I was suddenly excited. For the audiobook listeners, there are different people narrating each chapter of the book that is told from someone else's perspective. It was cool water. Still not great, but those narrators were so much better. We get Rhiannon POV, bossing people around. Yes, I was having such an excellent time getting to experience other dragon rider dragon relationships and just hearing all the other dragons and their thoughts and the way that they converse. All of the dragons in battle were so much fun, reveling in bloodshed and violence. Oh, this is a great time to interject something, but I have to go pee.
I've only had Arlo for a day and a half. But if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself.
Yesterday I noticed that the pull quote on the cover of Onyx Storm is from Christopher Paolini. I cannot imagine Christopher Paolini reading that scene in Iron Flame where Xaden puts Violet on his throne and then eats her out while her brother's like outside. Christopher, I didn't know you were chill like that. I was a huge Aragon kid, to no one's surprise. We're not getting into my history with dragon fiction. Back to Violet POV. Violet gets scooped up by Sagael. I love Sagael. Says, I didn't want to come back for you. Throws Violet. She's your problem now. Taryn catches Violet out of the air. That was great. Violet and Taryn decide to go after Theophany instead of fighting in the battle with everybody else. Imogen POV, which I also really, really like. Flying around, Imogen's dragon makes a comment. I don't know why you haven't acted on your feelings for Garrick. It's so exciting and fun. Imogen goes into a building and her best friend dies in front of her. Okay. I don't like when the queer women die, but I didn't know who that girl was. It was a little bit of an empty death. As Imogen's best friend is dying, she's like, you should really tell Garrick how you feel. Garrick shows up. Great timing, Garrick, my man. Oh no, your best friend is dead, Imogen. Teleports them all out of there. Imogen sees all the death and carnage that's happened and thinks we're gonna lose. Bodhi is vomiting in the corner. Violet and Taryn get taken down in a net. Sagael and Xaden are also trapped in a net. Violet and Theophany start fighting again. It's actually looking very bad for Violet. Violet remembers something that Imogen gave her, a message from Auric. Auric, who can see into the future, knew this was going to happen. Gives Violet a piece of stone from a temple of Dune. The note says something like strike in the dark. Theophany, excommunicated priestess of the temple of Dune. She's not allowed to set foot in a temple. In this battle, she keeps saying, Violet, turn. Flip that little switch.
I'm on my way to murder Elena.
You want to be with your boyfriend forever. Do whatever we want, which I guess is world domination. Like, what is the Venon's goal as a society? Do they have a society? How does their punctuation work? Do they have slots? Flicker of something, and Darna appears, which distracts Theophany, and then darkness overshadows everything. A little shadow brushes Violet's cheek and says, don't worry, baby girl, I got you. Violet stabs Theophany with the stone. Theophany blows up. This is something else I wanted to mention. During the battle, every time it switches to someone else's POV, they make a comment about how gaudy and ostentatious the Venon robes are. They wear these scarlet robes, and everyone just keeps saying, that's really tacky. Got it. No scarlet robes. Violet passes out. Xaden POV. He is struggling because there's a Venon who's in charge of Venon in a red robe, a tacky ass red robe. Don't be wearing those red robes or Xaden Riorson will judge your fashion sense. Who's going to kill Sagael? Xaden turns. That was the big wash of power. It was Xaden going full Venon. Sagael says, I'm going to abandon you now. He shows her into his brain. Xaden and Sagael fly off together. Our final chapter. Violet wakes up outside of Riorson house. There's a party going on inside. It's 3 a.m. She's on the ground next to Imogen. Brennan comes flying out of the house. Violet, what's happening? 4 dragons and their riders missing or dead. And there are 6 baby dragon eggs that are missing. Violet says, I don't know, I was just fighting Theophany and passed out. Brennan looks down at Violet's hand, looks shocked, looks taken aback. On that hand is a giant gold ring with a giant green emerald that is stuck to my blanket that she recognizes. It is Xaden's ring. Violet notices a piece of paper in her pocket, a marriage license. A marriage license between Xaden Riorson and Violet Sorengale. Violet, discombobulated, looks at Imogen and says, what did you do? Imogen, who can erase recent memories. I did exactly what you asked me to do. And then the book ends. But see, here's my question. Did they hyphenate? Did Xaden take Violet's last name? Is Violet now Violet Riorson, as Xaden so desperately wanted every time he brought up the frickin' jacket thing? If I had to rank them, 4th Wing, Onyx Storm, Iron Flame. This book was much more palatable to me than Iron Flame was. I'm not anti-smut. I think this book only should have had one smut scene. I think that the really, really long one where they're in the armchair, I think that one would have hit so much harder if they had not had sex yet in the book. But because they had their little table quickie, I think the tension could have been higher if they hadn't done that before. I know a lot of people are in it for the smut trail to follow. Also, this was not a reading vlog. I don't really know what this was, but thank you for going on this journey with me. It really made it so much more enjoyable. And I don't feel like I need to take my brain out and put it in tequila right now, so... Spreads Violet out on the throne and then eats her. I could find Xaden Riorson that booster juice.